Frankenstein game?
Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, Mr.
Saw Bridges, bringing you lucky episode 51.
Almost messed up.
I almost did.
Wouldn't be the first time
It would
today.
have.
Who knows? Saw,
Yes, sir.
we are on YouTube every Monday, are we not?
We sure are.
New
10
episodes?
a.m. Pacific, noon Central Time.
Look at
Catch
you
us
doing
out
it.
there. Yeah,
You're
look
doing
at
it
there.
good. All right, and we post to YouTube in video format, or we also post to podcast services like
Yes, we do.
SoundCloud or Podcast Addict, or
Everything but Spotify.
everything but Spotify. I will be as bold as to say that.
I think
I'm fairly positive it's true.
I want to say that's pretty much the case.
And if it's not, then call our bluff.
Sorry.
But anyway, Saul, what have you been doing this week? What's been playing? I haven't talked to you this week. I'm not going to say it's been a crazy week. I mean, I just haven't talked to you since you left my house when I was dying.
Yeah, you were. I almost wanted to film it and be like, just the noise you were making, because you was just almost dead. But
I
respect you more.
like a deer that's just sitting there after getting hit by a car, and you just hear it go.
Yeah, like for you guys that don't know, like last week, if you go back and like watch the ending of the podcast, Brett's perfectly fine up until like 5 minutes after we stop recording, and then he almost dies. Like, I was very surprised at the shift of that.
I thought I had died. Actually, I talked to someone about that the other day. Kidney stones, because I've never had one until now, are the most amazing thing in the world, because you will literally go from a state of dying for like. That was like a 3-hour stint. That was actually really bad.
But then you're perfectly fine after.
But dude, after it passed, I was like, I feel like a brand new man.
Yep.
And I don't understand it. It makes no sense. There's no rhyme or
It's
reason for anything. But
nuts.
hey, it is what it is. I'm better at the moment. I still haven't passed the damn thing, but we're gonna hope for the best.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe if I die in the middle of this podcast, I die in the middle of the podcast. I
Well,
have gone an entire day with no pain and no pain medicine, and I'm proud of that. I
We'll
don't know
tweet
what's
a
going on.
picture of
but
the stone. No, I'm kidding.
if that's what you want, demand it.
Nah.
Use your voice.
$60 a month on Patreon, you get that. But
every time I get a kidney stone, you get to name it, and I'll send it to you in a jar. That sounds disgusting.
wow, that does sound really disgusting. I've been playing Monster Hunter, of course. Well, what's new there? Playing some PUBG on computer. Also, there's nothing new there. Picked up the Devil May Cry collection. Kind of disappointed in it.
Okay,
I guess I expected more.
Well, and if I want to make sure that I'm not spreading misinformation, if I recall, the biggest issue that people had with it was that it was literally just the PS3 version, nothing else, no more upscale or anything. Just
I'm 90% sure that's what it is. Like, I remember starting it up, and I was like,
it doesn't feel like any extra work was put into it.
No, yeah, like it really doesn't. Like, and I started up Devil May Cry 3, the first to play first.
To be dead honest, 3 is the one that would look the best, even by today's standards.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's certainly true. And I'm not sorely disappointed. It was only $30, so like.
Is it still on sale? Has the sale ended yet? I thought about picking up Devil May Cry 4.
Oh, are you talking about 4? Or are you talking
yeah, I was just saying. I'm sorry. Yeah, the sale in general, did it end? Because Devil May Cry 4
Tuesday.
PS4 was okay. I didn't know if it was one of the ones that ran throughout the week or not. Because sometimes they do weekend flash sales. Sometimes they stack, and sometimes they completely replace.
Yeah, they could. They could end this weekend. Sorry, I was yawning.
We're tired. I just want to get that out there.
We did something really, really cool. We can get into that a little bit after, though, if you want. So
yeah, we'll talk about that.
We don't deviate too far.
We'll go for it. But yeah, go ahead. What else are we playing?
Devil May Cry. Downloaded Gauntlet again because Liam
okay,
was
did you play Gauntlet yet?
Yeah, I played it before. Like, I played.
See, I never played it.
Not only the original one, but I played this one, and it's.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I'm not talking about the original. I'm talking about the PS4 one.
No, yeah, I played it before for a little bit when it was a PS Plus game.
Yeah.
It was.
I don't think I was
fun.
smart. I think I screwed around and didn't add it to my cart. If I did, I want to play it.
It feels like it's basically a Diablo style game.
Oh, it's a dungeon crawler,
really cool
third person
twin
isometric.
Yeah. Played like 2 or 3 hours of that, but really, that's it. Like, I was trying to think if I had anything else. But what about you? Like, I just kind of drawn a blank here at this point.
Okay, so the rest of my week involved my 40th platinum. Being Life is Strange, which was not my plan. My plan was, me and Toxic Gecko were talking about it, like I told you last week, that we did a pretty crazy Diablo 3 run, really good one. We did another one of those this week, so Diablo 3 is back in the rotation. Donovan moved back to Alabama for good, and so yesterday was his last day here. He left this morning. So last night we played a good, 4 hour of what we call Diablo and Chill, which is basically There's no sexuality to it.
Of
It's
course
just
not.
it's just us talking and screwing around over Diablo because it's a game that you can put on and
No,
shoot
was
the
he?
shit. I love that.
He was playing here with you, right?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
physically here.
That's
It's
what I
gonna be the
thought.
last time I see him for probably a good, maybe even a year.
We'll-
So I
we'll
was like,
see.
we'll see what goes on. I wanted to spend some time with him, but I did that. So I played pretty heavily in Diablo 3, and Diablo 3 is my game of choice anyway because it requires input, but you can be a little more delayed and do what you want, and it's a
Yeah.
little less stressful. And since I've been on pain meds a lot this week, I did that. So yeah, finished up Life is Strange, got my platinum on that. Decided again for a simpler game. Debated starting Bloodborne, but that was when I was still taking my pain meds.
Yeah.
That were knocking me out. Like I slept a lot this week. I didn't go to work for the first 3 days of the week, and it put me really behind. And so the week's been a little wild. I didn't play a whole lot of games. When I did, it was something easy. So I did play Ratchet and Clank and went back and kind of gotten some of the trophies I was short on for my last playthrough that I could get. And now every trophy I have left to get the platinum on that involves my second playthrough with the challenge mode, which is basically New Game Plus, but it includes new weapons. The weapons can be bought with Omega editions. And they go up another 5 levels, and it's a little different, but it's how you have to get the platinum because you have to get all the levels of the weapons all the way up. So I'm doing that. I managed to get both of the ones or I say both of them. Actually, one of them super easy. There's jet. I don't really know what you would call it. It's like a hoverboard racing, I guess is probably the best way to call it in that game. And you have to get the gold cup on each one, which is not hard at all. Actually, you have to just beat bronze to get in the silver, beat silver, get in the gold, and then beat gold. But what you have to do is that both of them have a trophy tied to them where there is a time limit that you have to beat the race by. It's like 1 minute and 35 seconds for the first one and like 2 minutes and 10 seconds or something along those lines for the second race. The first race is so ridiculous to get that trophy. I don't know. I mean, everybody I know had problems with it. But my very first try on the other one, which is supposed to be kind of hard, I came in 15 seconds under the time that you have to get the trophy. So I felt good on that. And then I went back to the other one because I'd done it before. And I was like, why can't I not get this one? I'm always like 137.
Yeah.
And then what pissed me off is that I started getting back to that one because I was like, I got this. And I was like, maybe I'm in a better place. Maybe it's just more natural because I hadn't played this game in a long time. And that was one of the first things I tried hopping in and doing. I was like, maybe I needed to get more grips with the game again.
Yeah.
So I went back to it and I kept getting 135.01.
So
literally
shy.
a point second. Yeah, 0.1. I was like, this is ridiculous. But I finally got it. So that's what I've been going through. I really heavily debated Bloodborne, and I've decided that I will start that tomorrow. And that will be, I know I'm way late. I'm sorry, PS Plus pals. Forgive me. It's just been a hard month for me. I'm going to start playing the game. It's just a game that involves a lot. And with everything been going on and definitely being on pain meds, I wasn't going to sit there and try and fight Father Gaswan with slightly delayed response time. Not going to happen. Because my goal, as we talked about, I accidentally cheesed Father Gaswan with the stair thing. But this was a game launch. So I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't look it up. I started running up whenever he transformed. I started running up the stairs that go to the top part of his arena.
The stairs or
and what he does is like mid-attack is when I started running and I got around the stairs before his animation finished. And since I was at the perfect part of the stairs, like right in front of him, instead of trying to run around and meet me, my character model was within his hit range that he kept trying to attack me with on the stairs, but I was above him.
Okay.
But I could swing my thing down
over
and hit him.
Yeah, it hit him. That's cool.
And that's how I ended up doing it. And I mean, I beat the game the rest of the way without having, and I didn't get boss help on that game really. So
that was really before me or you did boss help because we kind of did boss help on Dark Souls 3 a little bit. But yeah, that's.
But that was one of those things where I was like, I'm not doing that now because my goal is to beat Father Gaswan 100% legit this time. Which I feel like is going to be a little bit of a headache because he's he's so aggressive.
I'll show you. Well, I guess we can kind of segue. Was that all you've been playing?
Yeah.
Okay, so into PS Plus pals. For those that don't know, we have a monthly gaming club where we pick a PS Plus game of the month and we play it. We have a Discord link in the description. Check it out. There is 3 channels now. There is a channel for general podcast discussion, which is, of course, the current episode and discussing topics that we're currently going over. And then we have a general discussion, which is completely random and off topic. And then we have PS Plus pals. Jump in there. If you played Bloodborne before, let us know. How far did you get? Did you have fun? That's really loud. I don't know what you're doing over there, Brett.
I didn't expect that. Blaze sent me a video of his PlayStation. That's his PlayStation's disk drive.
Oh, man, that thing is messed up. But I'm sorry, Blaze. That's bad. All digital for you.
I'm sorry for y'all that if it picked up the mic, I did not expect that.
No, but yeah, if you're a fan of Bloodborne, hop in the PS Plus PS Plus chat, and we have 3 chats, like I said. Check them all out. But I didn't play a whole lot of Bloodborne. I'm gonna shoot for that 4 hours, maybe under 5 hours total speedrun. But I will show you when we get done here, since it literally only takes 7 minutes. I can get through to Cathedral Ward in less than 7 minutes.
That's impressive.
That's including that's including Father Gascoigne. But yeah, so guys, check it out and let us know what you think. But
on to what we did today, though. So I was a
I
little
was
bit
gonna
behind
say-
me. We had a local event called HypeCon, which is its first time being around here, and it's one of our friends that actually got it off the ground. And so we got offered to do a table there, and we were like, you know what, fine, let's just go ahead and do it. And it was pretty fun. I mean, we got to have
it was really fun.
had my cases on display, had a bunch of conversations, people walking up, figuring out what we were, places podcast. It's funny that we're local, but so many people didn't even know what we were. And the question I got the most is, y'all are from Texarkana? Like, y'all live here?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And they're like, oh, wow. I tell people all the time, it's like this city's weirdest thing is that if you're doing anything with your life, people have to assume that you're not from here.
Yeah. And we helped out a group that's gonna start, or that has started their kind of own PlayStation themed podcast or gaming themed. Yeah, it was really fun, and I think a really fun aspect.
Yeah, a lot of chatting.
That
it's something I want to start doing way more of.
Yes.
And I don't know how it's going to be within the area. Obviously, we ain't going to be going to some crazy place, but
like San Francisco. Yeah,
within reason, like
Or
a
San
couple
Diego.
hours away, we can start doing more of those. It was just, I don't know, it's fun to have a table and have a booth and
it was
set
really
up
cool.
and just talk to people.
It was really cool too to see old friends and like other people that I haven't seen since like the Magic days or Super Smash Brothers days that we used to all play with. So it was really cool to see those guys again, and it sounded like a lot of fun. So if you're in our area, I know there's a couple people who listen that are. Definitely check out the next thing that Jesse Darby Tillis does. He's thinking about doing another one in June. This one was super fun for what it was. I know the entry fee is a little steep at $20, but there was enough there to to make it worth it. But do you want to go ahead and hop into the news, good sir?
Okay, yeah. So news is gonna be a little bit weird. Like I said,
there is no drop this week. As of the time we're currently recording this, it is not up on the PlayStation blog. I don't know.
So
if it's
screw
just
it. Hey,
delayed.
games are coming out next week.
Yeah, games. I know the biggest one is Ni no Kuni 2. So that's the only one.
Well, there you go, Revenant Kingdom.
Yeah,
that's gonna. And you know what?
Not picking that up on launch, but I'll pick it up soon.
Hey, me either. I want to see some stuff on it before I do anything like that. And I'm still, I don't know.
Kind of on the fence.
Couple things I want to talk about. I need to pick up Burnout Paradise Remastered. Did not get to do that yesterday whenever I left work because I've been so behind. I think it's 40.
Man.
But it may be 30. I don't quote me on anything. I'm
gonna check it out real quick.
But I want to say that the price was so good that I feel like it was 30.
I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if the price is good at 40 though for me.
That's what I'm saying. But I do want to say it was $39.99. So I don't remember. But all that being said, I need to pick that up. I did not really do news this week. Just didn't get around to it and was worried about doing more for this for the convention that we were part of today. Picking up on everything I didn't do there. So a couple things.
40.
One of the things that was one of the big things that happened this week was a lot of talk about the Spyro trilogy finally getting announced, being called the Treasure Trilogy or something like that. Treasure Collection, something like that. And that post that got everybody. It actually did not get me because I've seen
Antarctica.
Yeah, dude, it's a great troll account.
It is. It really is.
Fantastic
because,
troll account.
In our Discord, Liam posted it, and you can't see much. You see the red Nintendo thing. And
it's a small thumbnail of some custom art that someone did that looks like it would be remastered graphics.
It really does. And I was freaking out for a second about it, and then I realized the second I clicked on the link, I had briefly read Nintendo Antarctica. I just assumed that said America. So I clicked on it, I'm like, wait, what'd that say? And it loaded.
I think that was the idea behind it.
And I was like, son of a bitch, they got me. For 15 seconds of my life, I was super excited.
So, yeah, anyway, there was rumors about it earlier this week from the same guy who apparently had leaked Call of Duty Black Ops 4. So people were like, okay, this is at least a claim-worthy, like, hey, there's some backing to this guy. This could be legit. And then it was supposed to happen like Thursday night or something, or Thursday, and then it didn't happen, or Friday, one of the two.
I think that Discord was Wednesday is when he sent that Discord.
I can't remember. Like I said, I was at work, so it was Thursday or Friday.
I was not at work. That's why I think it's Wednesday.
Who knows?
Or it might have been before work.
Regardless, that did not happen. If you're curious, Activision has not said anything more. But, there is enough. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Or where I've seen where there's smoke, there's Spyro.
Yeah,
which is actually a really good one. But, I mean, within reason, at this point, it's almost a no doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. I still am more curious because here's my problem. All of the leaks and all of the rumors have been saying that Vicarious Visions is the ones working on this. That doesn't make sense to me. How have they done all three of these games
so close
in
together?
A year?
Yeah.
Unless they were co-developing it, which I don't think is likely.
No, I honestly don't either.
My other thing is that I still stand highly beside the fact that Crash is a known right now. Crash is a known entity. They know they've already put their chance into it. It did extremely well for them. Now it's coming out on other consoles. Wouldn't it be no time like the present to take Crash Team Racing, a character that we know now is going to do well,
make a new one,
and remake Crash Team Racing?
I agree.
Right? Wouldn't that be the thing to do now? So my problem with that is, wouldn't that be Vicarious Visions?
Right, yeah, it'd make the most sense for them to develop that after the Crash
they've been at hold
trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. They've been in hold of the Crash IP, and they were responsible for it coming back as big as it did.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Activision wouldn't want to use them to do, hopefully, to do Spyro. Because obviously we know that they can treat AIP with care and do what they, definitely when you're doing a remake, they looked at what mattered to people and they did what they could within reason, but also took enough creative liberties that it felt fresh, but also exactly like what you remembered. But if they did that with Spyro, great. I mean, I could see Activision being like, this is a team we want to give it to.
Right.
But what I don't see them doing is Activision giving Crash Team Racing off to another team, because now the people who do pay attention to the names will be like, oh, Crash Team Racing and Vicarious Visions, I know that this is it's a known quantity.
People will be iffy if it wasn't. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to say completely. People will probably the hype train's probably high enough that people wouldn't care, but I think it would be smartest to give it to them,
right?
Personally. So,
I mean, it does make sense.
I don't know. I like I say, it'll happen, and I do think it's new. Speaking of leaks, though, one of the things that we can talk about now with straight confirmation, even though the leak told us everything, is that Shadow of the Tomb Raider has been announced. It will be apparently the last game in Laura's origin story. Now, that doesn't. Who knows if it's the last game with this Laura or if it's going to be the last game in this arc, which I don't know. Even the last two games weren't all that connected, realistically. So I don't really know how they're going to want to word that, but the little bits they've shown look cool. It's a cool logo. I've enjoyed all the Tomb Raider games so far.
No, I haven't played any.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited within reason. It is being handled by a different team, Eidos Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, instead of Crystal Dynamics.
Eidos Montreal, they did
Thief, I think. And they did
something
Deus
else
Ex, I think.
Something else I've played recently.
The most recent Deus Ex?
Yeah. No, that game was, oh boy, I can get controversial.
I did not. I did not. Oh, I forgot I let you play it when I had it, didn't I?
You sold it to me, didn't you?
No, I didn't sell it to you. I let you borrow it, and then I ended up trading it in.
I borderline remember
buying it. I don't think you did.
No, I think did not trade that game in. Then I gave you like $20.
Probably.
That's what happened.
Oh, you used it for trade bonus. That's what it was.
Yeah, and then I gave you cash because that game was like I played 2 hours of that game. Then I heard it ended on a cliffhanger, and there may not even be a sequel to it. So I'm like, nope, not worth my time.
Yep. So anyway, that's coming. There's going to be an actual reveal. I think what ended up happening is their hand got forced. There were so many leaks that they were like, we have to make a public announcement at this point. So bam, public announcement. Here we are. From the fact that there was a trailer, it seemed like a public announcement was probably already ready. But I don't know. And there is going to be one sometime in April, if I'm not mistaken. So sometime next month, there will be a full reveal, or at least a more in-depth reveal. And the game comes out in September, so it does come out this year. And I think that that's actually a good slot for it. Within the realm of everything else that's happening, it's a big enough franchise to be in September and be that close to everything else. But
maybe it was just that game or Tomb Raider popping up that I saw at Eidos Montreal again. So
probably, God, probably. But I don't know. I'm going off of memory, and right now it's been a very long day. So
I completely understand. This episode's going to be a little weird. It may feel a little rushed. If that's the case, we're sorry, guys. We know that these episodes are far and few in between. I've been awake since 5. Brett's been awake since like 7, and then we've both been kind of on our feet the entire day at the Comic Con.
I want to tell you right now, every medicine they gave me for my kidney stone, I've had every side effect you can have.
Yeah,
and I'm not enjoying it. I don't normally take medicine. This has been the worst week.
Someone who dispenses these drugs legally can tell you that there's a lot of side effects in just hydrocodone alone.
Yeah, no, I've not been enjoying all that.
So like. We will hop into Readermail, I guess, since that I do know there's some stuff like Star Wars Battlefront 2 changed up their progression system again.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So now it's coming down to it's exactly what we said.
It's
all the loot crates are just for visual.
I still don't know if I will buy that game just because of what they tried at the beginning. Who knows if it goes on sale for $10 during a Christmas sale or something? I may pick it up. But the way it's EA, so eventually there'll be another game that does another thing that'll be the exact same thing as that one.
Well, hey, you know what's weird is that EA did not do any of the stuff with Burnout Paradise Remastered, which they could have easily done.
People thought like when they saw that on the rating, it's like, well, no, that's on there because it's an online game that you're paying online for. But we're going to go through some reader mail questions. Remember, we do 3 an episode now, and whenever we don't, we bank it just like an episode ago when we do a reader mail / fan appreciation episode.
And
we
I
answer 'em all.
basically, from what me and Saul have come down to, at least I'm fairly positive that we've kind of landed on the idea of those being bonus episodes or something
Yeah.
of the ilk.
Yeah, we're
maybe,
still kind of figuring
maybe even
things
a
out.
once a month bonus episode or
Hey,
something.
we
just
may only be a year in. We're still working out kinks, so we all have them.
You got kinks?
I was going to say, I have quite a lot of kinks. But John Shoop said, recently purchased Secret of Mana for PS4. Having never played it on the Super Nintendo, I felt like I had to give it a chance now that I'm an adult. Bummed out to find that I didn't like it at all. Horrible story and music is bland. It was such a turnoff that I decided I can't play it anymore and removed it from my PS4. My question is, for you guys, have you ever had a game that had this happen with? A game you were super excited to play and turns out it was a total flop. I've mentioned a couple games because we've gotten this question kind of similar to this, just gaming disappointments in general. But Two Human was one I was really excited for that kind of flopped.
You know what's crazy is that I didn't even care for 360, but Two Humans art looks so cool.
Yeah.
And when I'm a teenager, I was like, this looks amazing. The game was awful. I
Yeah.
mean, awful in every sense that I can even remember.
Lost Planet 2 was another one. I really liked the first Lost Planet. I'm probably
I
one of the 10
never
people.
liked either of the Lost Planet games. I didn't think they were, but I think they were awful. I didn't play a lot of 2. I played more of 1 than I did 2. I want to say one thing about this is that I have not played Secret of Mana, so I'm not going this route. But
I haven't played the new one.
I wonder.
I do have a pass.
Some of your qualms may actually be with the way they handled the remake, and it may not be anything to do with the actual original game's content. And I'm just saying, if it's something that you've always been excited to play, see maybe if you can actually just get your hands on a Super Nintendo version or an emulator or something. Or if Nintendo has a way for you to buy the original one through one of their programs on like DS or something like that, or Wii or 3DS, any of those, if you can get it in an official way, great. If you can't, I mean, it's up to them. That's where I stand on the moral gray ground of emulators. If they don't make it easily accessible for you, emulate it.
Right.
I mean, you know, they're leaving money on the table in my book. So
yeah,
they're not really doing anything wrong. I mean, if they gave you an easy way to do it, it'd be easy to do. I mean, I guess there's a lot of moral conundrums to that, but I mean, it's a game that's not in production anymore.
Yeah,
that's on a
pretty
system
hard
that's
to
not in production
obtain.
anymore.
It's not worth a 200, 300, 150, whatever you pay for it.
Yeah, you're playing a lot of chances by trying to get one if you don't already have a Nintendo. Too, you didn't have to try and get a Nintendo. But my point being is that sometimes it could be down to that. Remakes are always like a weird ground of how faithful to the original is this, and
Yeah.
like, what is it? Could it be that the way they did the graphics in this one kind of just weirdly threw you off? The music being bland. Were they able to use the same soundtrack, or was it expectations based off of it being the same soundtrack and it being an old game? It could be anything. I mean, there's a lot of variables that play there. So, I mean, if it's something that you've always been excited to play, I would say don't completely die on that high just yet. Try and play the original if you can in some form or fashion, and to see if you can get it. And maybe, who knows, it'll turn out to be one of your favorite games ever.
The Surge.
I knew the Surge.
I forgot about that.
Okay,
I have
so
answered this question before. That is an answer. That's definitely one.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about the Surge recently in the Discord chat world. Then we're talking about it. I didn't beat the Surge. I got what I would consider from everything that was going on. I got a feeling that I was about halfway through. And you know, one of the biggest letdowns of the Surge is that I didn't feel like the bosses were different enough from the normal enemies to give me a feeling of like, okay, this is the boss.
Their armor
It
system's
just-
weird.
it was one of those
It was
things-
cool but weird.
I didn't mind that, but the problem with a lot of the bosses that I ended up facing is that they just seem like giant versions of the normal bosses, and I think some of that maybe comes down to the mechanical natures. But I've seen better mechanically done stuff, but more the mechanics of the bosses didn't change up. Because like, okay, a couple of games do this thing where it's like, okay, well, they look somewhat like the normal monsters. You can't tell if it's a boss or just a tougher enemy or what, but I mean, like, Nier Automata didn't have necessarily the craziest boss designs in the world in terms of, like, the physical traits of them, but the mechanics would break up enough that you're like, oh, I'm highly aware that this is a boss fight, because there's a health bar on screen, that's a visual cue, but...
And the music.
The music, sure, but those are all cues. What actually gave it to you is that the mechanics are different than the standard fighting. So there was a feel of like, okay, this is the boss. It's wanting me to think outside of my normal shell.
Yeah.
And my thing is like my expectation for the Surge is based off of Lords of the Fallen, which I'm not saying is the most amazing game in the world. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I
Which is
enjoyed it
why
a
I'm
lot,
surprised
actually.
I didn't
I
enjoy
like
the
high
Surge.
fantasy a lot, though.
Yeah.
So when I played it and it had a lot of cool ideas, like being able to carry your XP or souls, whatever you call them, with you, to give yourself a modifier. I thought that was a cool idea. There's a lot of great ideas, and since the Surge was made by part of the team. It was made by the team that assisted in development of Lords of the Fallen. I was hoping it would get a lot of cues of it, and I just didn't get that feeling. It actually kind of bummed me, and I ended up deciding that I didn't want to spend more time in it, and I gave it out. So that's definitely one. One of Saul's early on, and he's switched on a little bit as it came a little bit later, but one of Saul's early on ones that I'm surprised you didn't mention is No Man's Sky, which it is for a lot of people, but I mean, you were hot on No Man's Sky, and you just... I remember, like, we went home the night that you got it. You were so stoked, and like basically the next day you were like, "I hate this game."
I bought a PS4 for that game and a separate PS4 for Annie, and like I realized very quickly that okay, this is gonna get really boring in its current state because I didn't want to grind in it and everything, but you know, it turned out to be pretty good. I picked it up for like $10, $20 on
the game
sale.
turned itself around because I'm not gonna say. I mean, like the game was bad for you at the beginning, but luckily that's where we stand in games. They can change themselves for what they need, and I still say they've always changed themselves for the better, but I did enjoy the initial launch. So I don't know, good question. I'm sorry to hear that I hate that, and that's one of those things where we were talking about like maintaining hype and expectations, but it's so hard when it's a game that's been out forever and you hear good things about it, and it's almost become like an icon, and then you get a chance to play it as a remake, and it's like, is this...
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of things, expectations are a fickle thing. You may have enjoyed it more going into it not having any idea what Secret Mana was. Like, you know, if you were just like, bam, what's this game? And then you picked it up and like, oh, this is kind of cool. But when you set expectations in your head because of that iconic stature that a game gets given, it's like, okay, well, this didn't live up to what my mind expects from something that's an icon.
Yeah, that's true. Sean Santarud says, with the release of Bloodborne as a comic, is there any gaming series you would like to be expanded on in comic book form?
Great.
That is a great question. And honestly, Bloodborne is the perfect one, in my opinion. The art, the lore, everything about Bloodborne would be great as a comic, and I really am sad to see how they have scalped those. Like, it's really hard to get those right now. They're like $80.
Of course. I think Bloodborne's a great example. Any of the Souls games, because of the way their world and lore is built, I think that they're perfect for expanding through other media. I do not mean that in the sense of live action anything, but I would not mind like an anime Bloodborne thing that digs more into the world. That would be interesting. I'm not saying it would be necessarily amazing, but as much as I love the question, I don't actually have an answer for it just yet because all the games that would have been my very big go-tos have actually already done that. One of my go-tos, I'm only going to use one, because we spent a lot of time on that last question. So, but Darksiders so far has actually been a great, like the art style is really well for comics and graphic novels of the ilk, and they've already done that. They quickly were like, okay, this is a great idea to move into that. There's a lot of a world around this that we can build into in between games. So they already did that, and all of them were really good. I do like comics, but I'm not just in a super... It's funny, this actually ends up going into another question where somebody said, let's hear comic book talk. Comic books in a different sense. I've never been extremely big on like DC comics or anything like that. I mean, like, I enjoy them, but there's a lot going on. They're really hard to get in.
The world changes too much. Too many restarts.
Yeah, and it does. But
it's like a big waste of money.
It's a monster. It's a big monster, and I get it. If you're into it literally every week, it's great. If you're not,
I understand.
It's hard to. You feel like you're not connected. So my thing that I've always gone to is I love the idea of letting a comic book run its series and then getting the graphic novel collection.
Yep, that's my opinion.
I've always loved that. Part of that comes to, we're going to go back to music for a second. Coheed and Cambria, one of my favorite bands. They are great, and the Amory Wars comic series that is what all of the Coheed albums are based off of storyline-wise, besides Killer Before the Sun. We won't talk about that. That's the album that should not be named. But all of them, all of them are connected other than that one, in one universe, and they all have a story that they tell, and the first four tell a very coherent story. The fifth album goes back and tells a prequel story that sets up the world that you see in the next ones, and it's a really cool way to connect it. I love that, and I think that the idea of being able to branch something into multiple forms of media in a way that you can consume it differently and learn more, because like music is a really hard way to tell a story.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, if you listen to the Coheed stuff, you can hear the story, but then when you actually read it and you start to understand what the lyrics are actually trying to hint at, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right.
So being able to kind of transcend media and go to something else that can give you a whole different perspective on what you already know and what you've already consumed. I love that aspect, and I did like that a whole lot about the Darksiders. It was me starting in one world and one media set and going into the same world in a different media set and getting a new set of eyes on it, because a lot of the times they try and shift the perspective of who it is
Right.
when they do that, and I like the idea of that. Whether it's going from like a third person omniscient to like, okay, here's a narrator, and there's actually something going on here, or if
Yeah.
it's flipped in the script, like, okay, this is first. I'm talking from the point of being I am the I'm not the narrator, but I'm the character. I'm talking from my point of view, and then when we go out, we go to a like in the comic books and Coheed, it's like it goes to a third person omniscient.
Right.
I love that. I think that's really cool. Comic books are a great thing.
Graphic
They're
novels
really,
are
really
my
hard
jam.
to give your thing. And I also love graphic novels. It's funny. I talk about Coheed. Both of them are up there in the corner. You can see them, right?
Yep.
There. They're just, to me, because it's part of my nature of, like, I like to binge stuff. I'm like that with Netflix, games, everything. I like to sit down and consume the entirety of it as I can. So, like, seasons of a TV show are great because you can binge the entire season, and even if there's time between, the season normally has an arc.
That's why I like.
And you can binge that arc. And then even though you're waiting, and that's why I love Netflix. I'm not a big fan.
Netflix originals.
Like, we've been watching and this has gotten way off. Yeah, but we've been watching The Path on Hulu, and I did not know Hulu did this with their originals. Their originals still keep a traditional
Weekly.
TV layout. I hate it. I'm like, why would you not just do the Netflix model of releasing it all at once?
No, I understand. Like Netflix has spoiled me because like I stayed on watching Breaking Bad live through TV from the last season, and let me tell you, like that's not a show. Like even watching it, rewatching it again on Netflix, it's like, man, I'm so glad I have the next episode available to see
Because
this.
it's just, you know what's going to happen, but there's that pull to be like, I just have to see it again.
It's something Better Call Saul does really well too.
And see, and that's one of those things. So that's my thing with comics is I like to wait until there's a graphic novel that compiles them into one book because I like to read the story as a whole. Waiting the week-to-week thing has just never been my thing. It's also why I've never been much of a TV watcher.
Yeah, me neither, specifically with comic books. I've never done it with comic books. I've done it with TV with Breaking Bad. And
you see it bleed into my gaming habits because I don't buy any of the episodic games until they're complete.
That's
Then
true.
I buy them, and then I play them because I bought Guardians of the Galaxy at launch as a means to support Telltale, and I didn't play it until recently. But my point being is that I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to consume the media until it's in the format that I want it in, which is I can go ahead and binge this entire thing. So great question, but that's the one that's done it for me. So what was the last question you want to do, Saul?
Our last and final question. Remember, if you didn't hear this answered, we will have a bonus episode with your question answered. So don't be scared to keep on asking. You know, if we don't get it one week, we may get it the next, and they will all be answered. Both two people asked very similar questions, so this is the topic of the show, so we'll lead it into that. We have Shariko saying, if you could get a game designed and published, what type of would it be? Open world, etc., and what platform would you try it for? And then Dan Groobs says, if you could Frankenstein together your ideal game, which aspects and from what games would you choose and why? Use any video game, but for the sake of time, limit of 5 games. Other parameters like third person, animation style, etc. doesn't count as part of the 5. Example, third and first person selectable and or situational controlled, realistic graphics, real world cityscape and surroundings, story and exploration like Horizon Zero Dawn, co-op like Monster Hunter World, drop in and drop out system, competitive multiplayer like Destiny 2, weapons and armor system like Division and where pieces complement each other, and the enchant, transmog, die abilities like Diablo 3. Oh, and even random Need for Speed and Burnout style racing thrown in there, along with some side puzzles like Nier, RNC, TR, Uncharted. I know this is way more than 5, but whatever, I could get carried away. I'm sure anyone would with this power. So that is something that...
Okay, so hold on. I didn't realize that what he was talking about was one game. How the hell does that work? What game has even attempted that? Rage? Rage?
Nier has Gundam fights.
But it doesn't have racing, does it?
Apparently, there's a mech mode in Nier. I don't know about. Like, I saw a picture of it, like, on Twitter, and it's like I saw a dinosaur with a purple laser beam shooting out. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
they got Zoids, Gundams. They got all kinds of things in Nier Automata.
Automata. Say it the way you want to, Saul.
No,
say it the way that naturally.
I don't know why. I know it should naturally say it the wrong way.
Say it the way it's like they so Dexter where it's like omelette du fromage.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So you just let it come out of your tongue the way it does. Don't worry about it, Saul.
But
dude, okay. So Dan, I'm sorry. That is the craziest sounding game in the world. The only game I can even loosely attempt to think that has even tried it and it didn't receive very well was Rage. Because it had racing, you could get in the buggy, move around. It had RPG aspects, but it had third person, and it
was first person.
It was first person, but
it had.
I don't know. It was very odd. I didn't even play the game because Blaze had it, and it was really badly optimized.
It was really badly optimized. But if honestly, I
love the idea though. I love the idea behind the question. It's a fantastic question.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a Dark Souls combat styled game.
I knew it.
Very slow, but very methodical and punishing combat, almost like you're playing chess with a sword. Like
Okay.
So yeah, I sound pretty cringy right now. But anyways, that kind of combat, it's
Anticipate
more so
your
Dark
opponent.
Souls 3 or Dark Souls 2 or 1 than 3. But something like 3 I would take.
So more plotting because 3 was quicker and a little.
3 was quicker, yeah.
And got rid of a lot of stats or had the stats but they didn't matter.
Yeah, like I think
Stance?
poise
That's what it
didn't
was.
matter in
Yeah.
3. But so that's the combat. We're gonna go ahead and throw it in a world like Destiny, where it's a sci-fi space world.
Yeah, that's your 2.
So almost somewhere kind of sounded like Surge, but not so much because it's gonna involve space magic, kind of like Destiny does.
So there's going to be high fantasy, but it's going to be set in a more futuristic.
So yeah,
space
imagine the world of Destiny and Warframe combined. So we have a Dark Souls style combat with that.
Oh, dude, the world of Warframe is dope.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. Especially,
I want to say because everybody never knows this, the world of Dark Sector that leads into Warframe is dope. It's a super cool idea.
Yeah.
To know.
Yeah. But okay, so I have Dark Souls gameplay with space style magic, lore, and worlds.
Okay.
We're gonna use a large creature aspect hunting like Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
So you're gonna be hunting these big old monsters that are, this is the 4th one, that are demons like in Doom. So you're a demon hunter, but you're a space magic demon hunter with Dark Souls combat. This is already sounding amazing. And then the 5th one is going to be a ultimate style move that you could do that is going to be a rhythm game, like Guitar Hero, where you have to mash buttons in a very quick, very, very quick and correct order.
But it's
going to
be like it's gonna be like a final break or something like that.
Yes, it's going to be your final breaker move. And I thought about like this I've thought about a game like this before, and I even made up a story.
I'm about to say, dude, you came up with this way quicker than I felt like you should have been able to.
So, like, imagine this: demons are running rampant because a space-time continuum has opened up and poured them into this world.
Doom 3.
Almost, I was gonna say like Doom 3 and a mixture, kind of almost. Oh nope, never mind. Not gonna say another game because it's gonna be heavy spoilers for a current game. But yeah, imagine dropping demons in, dropping like gods in, and you have to kill them. But in order to kill them, you have to complete this break move, which seals them from the world, which is like a rhythm game because you have to go in a certain.
Okay, so this isn't optional.
It's
this is
like
going to be
Castlevania,
required.
Dawn of Sorrow, where you have to draw the rune on the touchscreen and then seal the boss. It's kind of like that.
Actually, I did like that idea.
It was a really good game.
Don't get me wrong, the way that you did it was really crappy. I would have liked it to been like a more thought out thing.
Yeah, like a rune. But that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a trail of trigger mashes and button presses that are going to basically be a rune seal that completely destroys the enemy. If you don't destroy the demon, it comes back stronger. And every time it does, it progressively comes back stronger until, of course, this is the 6th hidden feature. I mentioned Monster Hunter. It's going to have a drop-in, drop-out co-op system like Monster Hunter, like
Well, I'll let that kind of roll together because you basically said Monster Hunter already.
Yeah.
So that's going to be part of the Monster Hunter.
So, yeah, imagine, you're set out in outer space with aliens and just demons, and you have slow methodical Dark Souls combat, not like Monster Hunter. People keep comparing that. It's not the same. You have these big huge demons that you have to go find and kill, and then you will have to seal them using a rhythm game, all set with a really heavy lore setting. That would be my dream game. I don't know, that would probably never ever happen, but I would love it.
Okay, so mine's going to be a little bit weird because I have a slight thing in my head that tells me that I don't want to let myself get this hyped. But that game I told you about, Lost Soul Aside, that's being that was started and completely developed from the ground up to the point that it was when he showed it off by one Chinese game developer kid, not a kid necessarily, but he was relatively young. And then they pulled back to him. I mean, the game looks amazing. So it starts to hit a couple of my list. My game is going to be an open world JRPG. Okay, that's where I stand on it. So if we're gonna pull game list as like the inspiration behind it, Final Fantasy 15 is not gonna be my give to because Final Fantasy 15's world is too empty and too big for no reason.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Nier Automata, a world that's scaled reasonably.
Right, it's not super huge, but it's not super
but it feels right, and it feels
like
big.
Your first playthrough,
yeah.
Like the game.
And I'm not saying Nier Automata is perfect. So I mean, give the idea. I mean, I say that Nier Automata is perfect, but perfect because of what it adds up to be. It's nothing. No game's perfect, but it's perfect in my mind. That's what I should say. So Nier Automata, take that general idea of an open world that's really like that in JRPG, And Nier Automata edges close on this because of Platinum Games. But even more so, this is where Lost Soul Aside starts to really get me. Take that action, ramp it up another notch. Give me Devil May Cry combat.
Yeah, I like it.
Very heavy combo based, and I mean that's why I say Platinum Games is. If I was going to give a developer to give this to, probably be Platinum Games.
They could definitely.
So you give that very over the top action heavy, which I mean Nier had, but it was also a little more controlled. So I mean I want to go crazy. I want to be jumping over the screen, different crap happening, multiple weapons that you're switching between mid combo, which is actually not. I'm not going to count this as a game right now. I don't think, because it's just another game that's done it. Other games have also attempted this, but God of War 3 was one of them, where it was the idea of switching between your weapons seamlessly in your combos. Other games have done that. Nier Automata did that. You could switch between your heavy blade and your short blade whenever you were doing that. So Nier Automata's still there. So that's where I'm at. So open world, Nier Automata, and kind of general art style too, to an extent. But I want to go slightly more. I don't say realistic, but you know that weird area that Final Fantasy 15 almost hit, and it probably is hitting
like
on
futuristic...
PC. No, not necessarily tone, but I'm talking about like graphical style, animation. I guess animation style, whatever you want to call it. So like, I don't want it to be hyper realistic. I want it to be somewhere in between that, decidedly Japanese anime influenced,
right?
But with a realistic approach,
right?
So Lost Soul Aside is kind of hitting that. Like, I want to see pores on the face, but I want it to be decidedly like there's no way that a human could actually have those features.
You want the
necessarily.
Features to be exaggerated at the same time.
A little bit, yeah. So I mean, like Final Fantasy is a good example of that. Final Fantasy 15 is, and so is Nier Automata. They are realistic, but there's also that stretch to them that you're just like, something about them is not quite normal. So it pulls that way. So that's 2 games so far, right? No, that's 3 games.
3.
So 3 is gonna be realistic style. And I guess weirdly enough, the game that I'm saying is probably going to be one of the inspirations. It's going to be like Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 15 and Lost Soul Aside. But what I want the world style to be, weirdly enough, it's not futuristic space. I want it to be... Okay, this is going to be hard to describe realistically. And again, this is weird because so far, what I've seen of Lost Soul Aside is I want that really magical look to everything, where it's like old style architecture, almost Gothic looking maybe, where it's got a lot of columns and a lot of archways and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's also got some like little whimsical flows to it that give it like a magical essence. So I want there to be... Castlevania would fit into that too. I want there to be like a magical essence, and I want there to be like obvious things that like you're seeing crystal monsters form together that are obviously being tied together by something.
Bloodborne? Oh, well, Crystal Monsters are Demon Souls 3, if only.
Dark Souls 3,
yeah.
But I mean, like, as a pulling, I want the world to feel like there's a magic that pulses throughout the world itself. It's like these monsters are not normal. These are not things that already exist. Or they exist in the world, but they don't exist by any kind of natural means. Everything about it is like a supernatural effect. Or like an obvious, like there's something that's fueling this, be it magic or what. One of the games that I think did that somewhat well was East Origins. It did it with a 2.5D setup.
Static, yeah.
But it was cool, the enemy designs they had, and definitely like the boss designs they had. But a little even more further than that. So I like that idea. I want there to be... And it's going to be hard to confine within 5 games because I feel like I'm already branching out a little weirdly.
I thought 5 games was too much at first. I was like, no, it's
not enough. It's not enough. Story-wise, I'm going to go back to Nier Automata. I want the story and the world to be told to you in a way that continues to unravel. I like the idea of a soft ending, which is weird because I know that for most people, when I recommend Nier Automata to people, I have to tell them that when the credits roll the first time, that's not the end of the game.
No, that's not even the third ending of the game.
And now the game kind of tells you that.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't.
It does. It specifically says.
But you could very easily miss it because it's real quick.
You could.
So I mean, I have to tell people
who smash through the things.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta be careful. So there's a risk you run there, but I like the idea of a soft ending because it's like an arc has ended in this multi-arc story that we're dealing with. So I like that idea. I want there to be an arc. Another game that I thought did this really well was Tales of Xillia. Every time I thought that there was an ending, I was like, oh, this feels like an ending.
Again, another
Bam,
arc.
There's more going on. There's something else.
I love games like that to
ridiculous.
An extent. I got Persona 5s like that.
I love that though. And when you can keep my interest, if you can keep my interest doing it, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So that's what I want. I want that to kind of pull in. I want there to be like an arc that you get to and you feel like there's a lot of climax. You're like, oh my God. And then that ends and you're like, is that the end? And then you hit start up again, and it's like, oh god, there's way more. And I like it again. Nier does a really good job of this of explaining just enough to you that when the credits roll, you're like, but wait, what about this? And then you go, but wait, and then you hit start, and you're like, I know that I'm about to get told. So I want that. I like that aspect.
Maze, but wait, there's more.
I like that aspect, but I want there to be like, I mentioned the world. I mentioned that Nier Automata is not a perfect game. Okay, the reason I say that is that within the budget of what Nier Automata was and what it should have been and what it could be, it was perfect within what it was aiming to be. But I like the idea of
objectively perfect.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like the idea of a JRPG, which I don't feel like has happened yet. A JRPG that has a world that feels as alive as The Witcher. And the way I say that is a little weird because I even think, as much as a lot of people love The Witcher for its world, I still think there's more to be had than The Witcher even offered. I want the most alive world that you can get. How do you do that?
I would argue Final Fantasy 14 would fit that bill pretty well.
14 maybe. I don't have enough experience with that game, and it's an MMO, which they tend to do a little bit different.
Just lots of creatures roaming around.
But I want the creatures and I don't want the NPCs to feel like NPCs. Like when you're in the city,
that's probably where that.
Okay, look, this is going to sound weird because it's not quite. It's what I expect from the next Elder Scrolls game. You know how the Elder Scrolls games characters don't just stay in one area. That's one of the things.
Have a routine.
It's one of the things I hate about NPCs and JRPGs. They're just there. Yeah. They never move. They never do anything. I like the idea of a game having a time system.
Right.
And letting me have this time system where it's like night and day cycle that's real. Yeah. And there is a NPC cycle, and it's not daily the same. That's where I want AI to start getting better in games, where they can start having multi-route routines where on certain days they do different stuff. And it's a little more about finding the people because they're living their own lives. That's really hard to do. And some people will say it's unnecessary. But there's something about the way that it makes the game feel alive that I wouldn't trade for the world. Being able to kind of like, even though it was repetitive because it was a PS3 game and AI wasn't that great, Skyrim's thing where you see people walking away at the end of the day, like they close their shop and they walk home. To me, that's awesome. I'm like, they have a home.
There was a problem with Oblivion where like the NPCs routes were too realistic, right? And then it kept soft locking people, so they had to fix that, or they had to.
I don't remember. Now that you bring it up, I want to say that there was people that were getting locked out of quests because they couldn't find the people.
Yeah, like something happened, like the NPCs, and this could be one of those Todd Howard lies, but something was happening where the NPCs were interacting with each other too much, so like there could be a feud, and then one NPC could kill another, blocking you from a quest because they killed that NPC without your fault. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, which that exists in Skyrim. If you screw around and kill somebody, they don't come back.
They sure don't.
But so that, I want a very alive world. I mean, more so than we've seen in any game. I mean, you've seen like whispers of it in games that never came to be.
Skyrim on PS, or Oblivion on PSP.
But
heart still aches.
Okay, so part of that alive world, and this is where I'm going to say that this is and it's weird because the world is alive in its own way, in a very different way. The Last Guardian is my inspiration for this, but putting that kind of attention and care between the two characters into an entire world. Everything that happened, even the other Tricos that you come across, probably shouldn't have said that.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that, but you know.
Here we are. Spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't played The Last Guardian, just hold your ears for 2 seconds. Probably
30 seconds
probably
ago.
30 seconds. Everything that you come across, even the other Tricos, they feel like there's a purpose in that world, and that purpose is actually being realized, and that they're not just there to aid the game. There's like a weird essence in that game, and it actually is. It's funny if you ever play the game and we can talk about it more. But there's like an essence that you feel in that game where like when the stone creatures come to life.
Yeah.
It's part of what I was talking about with like everything has that weird magical pull to it.
Yeah.
Like you don't quite understand it, but you're very obvious that things that shouldn't be alive are alive.
Yeah.
And so everything in that game has got like. Okay, part of it comes down to animations and things about AI that I love. And while some people took a lot of issues with Trico specifically and the way that his AI interacted, I am one of the few people that thinks that it was really well done, and it was done in an attempt to tell you that just like in real life, and people hate this analogy, but it's a perfect analogy, just like in real life, when you have a dog, your dogs do not always listen to you. Sometimes they do.
No.
Sometimes you be like, hey, get on the bed, and what do? They jump right off the bed. Sometimes they get off the bed, and they move further up the bed and lay back down. You'd be like, what the hell? I told you to get off of the bed.
Like, yeah. I want to lay here, Dad.
So my point being is that the interactions with Trico, even just watching him do his own thing, so not even interaction, just watching him do his own thing, he felt like that was his world. He's going to walk around, do what he wants to with it, within the realm of the obvious fact that he didn't want to leave me. Not because he's a game character, because he's in a place that he's confused about because he doesn't have. I don't want to spoil the game too much, but there's a
No,
lot
yeah,
of
I
stuff that
understand.
comes into it where it's like he's in a world that he kind of understands, but he doesn't. And
So you want the
stuff's going
world
on.
to feel alive and almost like it's a thing. Like
It's tangible for the NPCs.
right.
The NPCs need to be aware that the world is theirs for them to
Right.
do what they want, and then they're not just okay. This is my routine. I'm going to go to my store, close it up at 7
They'll
o'clock,
walk home.
and then I'll wake up at 9 o'clock, and then I'll go back to the store and I'll open it up. See, like again, that's okay. I would prefer that to static. I hate that about JRPGs. Static NPCs, they kill
Just
me.
the ones that stand there.
And
every time of
they're
day.
not static, but they just walk that one triangle in the city square, I'm like, I don't want that either.
No.
I mean, just give me people who have some kind of a routine.
Yeah, it's like the guy in Ocarina of Time who's like, "Can you get the Kariko, whatever the fox mask is for my son?" And then
Oh.
the asshole takes it and just stands there at the gate, like, yeah, "Where's your son? Like, what?"
Are you gonna go give it to your son?
Yeah, you've been standing there for however long it took me to beat the Dongo Cavern, and you're still there. Like, your son okay? Did he die?
So, and then the last thing that I would want, because this gets to be really weird, and it's involved in combat, but it's more of a mechanism of how the armor will work. I do like. It's funny he's talking about that. Transmog, I think, should be in any game that you have multiple armor styles, because while the armor piece may be better for
it's
you,
coming in Monster Hunter, according to a lot of people.
Giving the ability for me to have a look that I want, but have the stats that I want with the armor that I'm wearing is great. So I think that's important. But where I actually go more on the Diablo side is the way that they tier off their enemies. The way that elites are kind of like there's different roles of elites, and on top of that, the way that the elites have what it does is it makes combat feel more spur of the moment, because there's a pool of modifiers that these things can get, and like you play Diablo 3,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, this one's going to be arcane and a waller and molten, so that means he's going to shoot out these little beams that come around and spin around. He can wall you in so you can get trapped by those, and then he's also molten, so when you, or whatever it is, when you kill him, he explodes. It's like these are all things you have to be constantly aware of. So can you imagine Diablo 3's gameplay, but where you're not just passively rolling around, you're actively like warping in and out, like,
That'd be cool.
and having to be highly aware that, okay, they can freeze me. I gotta be careful not to
I
let
would
that
play
go.
this game. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
But take it much further. As much as I love that, the way that they let those happen, I also like the way that they let their roles happen so it's basically Destiny, but to a much harder extent. Of here we have blues, we have normal weapons, we have blues, we have golds, we have legendaries, we have ancients. We're going to pull out everything we have. The idea of letting the game have seasons where there's things you can do to get specific new armor.
I kind of really want to jump back into Diablo on PS4. I still have the game. I just need to pick it back up.
Start playing with me and Toxic, or Dan, he's the one who gave us this question. Well, one of the two, Liam too, right?
Sharika.
Oh, Sharika, okay, sorry. Anyway, point being,
Shelko and Liam have a fight in Discord about that.
yeah, do it.
Deathmatch
Death
Discord.
to my whim. Anyway, that's kind of where I stand. The way that game as a whole treats gear and the gear grind, the gear loop. I don't want it to be a core thing of the game. I want you to be able to play through the game and do that. I want it to be a subsystem that if you want to dig in and dive through the game. And okay, part of that also has to go back to Skyrim real quick, but a much more advanced version of what Skyrim did with it. Do you remember the Radiant quest system in Skyrim?
Yes.
I want the game to always give you quests that are built off of an AI system, but I want the AI system to be more advanced and the quest to be
Okay, so just a more advanced rating system in a way that could fend well more so like.
I don't want it
with
to
the
just be
AI
fetch quest. I
question.
don't want it to be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, go kill 3 dogs and
Have,
come
like
back.
maybe there's a storm and like there's like
Weird
the
crap.
town's flooded.
Weird crap. Yeah, it's like, oh,
and you gotta do
go
something
save
to
my
fix it.
son, or whatever it be.
Take this mask to my boy.
So the aliens can see him and pick him up. Now, anyway,
Boy, that's a Majora's mask.
my point
some
being
cows.
is that there's so much. Is the almost through line to all my stuff is I want the world to just be more alive.
Yeah, just
So basically, I
more
want
immersive.
I want AI to just really shoot up and be so much better.
Yeah, that's what I was sad about with No Man's Sky. There is no ecosystem in that game. There still is not a real ecosystem in that game.
Yeah, there really isn't, which is sad.
They have like an animal colony and like, oh man. So, but man, we
That's it.
apologize for this
That's
kind
it.
of rushed episode. You know, you guys know that.
I
That's,
don't think it's rushed. It feels natural. That's what I
It
want. I want
does.
every episode to feel like it's ending on a natural kind of. Okay, we hit our thing that we wanted. I love that question. That's a great question. It takes a lot of thinking, and my mind's not necessarily in the mood to think that. But I still feel like the game I came up with, I would play the hell out of.
You
now,
came up with that on the spot. This is something I've been thinking about.
Yeah. Now
Like,
I will
would
say
be
this.
cool.
I will say this. Lost Soul Aside is not going to be the ending parts. I know that. Lost Soul Aside will not have Diablo-like. There's no way. I know that. And they're not going to have Diablo enemy weapon modifiers. What Lost Soul Aside is looking like it's doing for me is it's going to be like the first 3, maybe even the 4th thing for me, starting to pull into one. A lot of it's going to depend because, I mean, it technically is an indie game, but Sony's backing it in a big way. So
is there a release window?
I do not know right now. I've been following it, but I've been looser following it than I've been planning to. One thing is, did you see that Pray for the Gods is moving into alpha?
It's a timed PS4 exclusive?
Yep.
But Sony's backing it?
I mean, not 100%. They're helping.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, time PS4. But dude, that's awesome.
That it is. It's gonna get this game out, which is what matters.
Which is what matters,
really
exactly.
Cool.
So my point with all of that is that, oh Lord, I just lost my train of thought. I was saying something.
It sounded like you asked me a question.
Oh, did you see that? Okay, Pray for the Gods, the game that's going to be like a Shadow of the Colossus spiritual successor. It's moving into alpha. I'm excited about that. I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's really
cool. They sent
me
the thing. I'm a Kickstarter supporter for the game. They sent me the update on the Kickstarter page.
On Kickstarter?
No, $60 for a physical edition. 60. I think.
Okay, I thought it was 80.
For PS4. I think you can get it for. I think physical. I could be lying to you there. It could be 40 for a non-physical version. I can't remember.
Ooh.
It's reasonably priced. I know that much.
Yeah, no, that's always good
for what the game is. So I don't know. I'm excited about that. I should have mentioned that in news, but it's one of those weird things. I talk about the game very loosely on here because every time they give me an update, I get excited about it. Pray for the Gods looks awesome. The way the game, it looks like if you kind of shoved Hellblade and Shadow of the Colossus together, which I think is awesome. I hope it's got a really, really cool story, which I feel like if you're spiritual successing Shadow of the Colossus, you at least have an interesting story. You know what's going on, or you don't know what's going on, but you have the motive to want to keep going to see what's going on by the time it's ending. Because that's the thing I love about Shadow of the Colossus. You don't quite understand everything that's going on, but you kind of just keep playing to see, even though you feel like you're doing the wrong thing, you just keep playing, and then you go, "Oh, okay, that's what was going on."
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So,
whoops.
Yeah, spoiler.
I didn't. There's no spoilers there. But. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to check the links for the timestamps, the Discord, the Twitter, all that good stuff. This has been episode 51.
And that means that 52 will be next week, and that is our official 1 year anniversary. That's sweet.
It is. We will be seeing you guys for that for sure. We may think of something, a giveaway of some sort. It's a little surprise.
We're going to talk about some stuff. There's definitely going to be a lot of announcements to be made of things that we've been wanting to do that we've been having to figure out how to do.
Some core changes, but changes that are going forward, nothing going back. Yeah. And adding
and things we talked about doing loosely in the past that we've not been able to do. We are actually going to attempt now.
Or maybe even joked about in this current episode. Who knows? Who knows? We have to tune into episode 52.
Anything is possible. Okay. Anyway, we will see you next week. This has been Triangle Squared. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.